Hey, good morning. I'm glad to see that some of you are able to make it for the live stream. As always, very much appreciated. If you're watching the video later, I hope you're having a good week. Yeah, so I have a pretty straightforward menu this week to get through. Good morning, RoboGenko. Nice to see you. Yeah, so we have pretty straightforward content today, which is good, except for there is one new thing that'll be new for a lot of you. So that's why we're kind of easy on the tools, because we have a new concept to deal with. Good morning, Colin Ryan. And thank you. I should always just start with that, just get an audio check. So thank you for that. Appreciated. Cyan Soldier, good morning. Nice to see you. Okay, so yeah, pretty straightforward. I don't even know if we'll need the full hour today, but we'll give everything its due attention. So let me get into our course. Great discussion, by the way, last week. So it was a lot of fun to go read everybody's posts, having kind of looked at where Linux appears out there in the world. You may or may not have noticed that I'm not a big Microsoft person. I am on a Microsoft-based machine right now for streaming. This is also my machine that I make and play games on, which is where for me kind of Microsoft continues to have its value. So yeah, I held off on my opinion about why Microsoft still seemed to be so dominant. Fear is my answer to that question. And I'll add some detail later. Anyway, so we are in week 7. Light on commands, although we're going to dig into one of them a little bit. So the goals here are to get better and better at not memorizing commands, but once I kind of know one of the utilities or commands that I want to use, to go into the manual pages and kind of dig in on the details and see what behaviors I can get out of that command if I understand how to read the man pages. So that's kind of what we're doing when we have weeks like this where we don't have nearly as much new stuff. And then you'll see at the bottom of the agenda the squiggle /.vimrc, which is a configuration file which we can use to set the launch options for our Vim editor. And we're going to toy around with that just a little bit today to get you accustomed to the idea of a configuration file. Let me blow this up a little bit. Okay, so what's coming up here? Next week, new content. Next week will be week 8, new content on controlling processes. And then week 9, no new content. Week 9 live stream will be a review at this time. And then you'll have the full week to complete the midterm exam, and that's the only assignment the whole week of week 9 is the midterm exam. So there's no discussion during week 9. There's no lab during week 9. It is entirely around the midterm. So please allow time and space to deal with the midterm effectively. There's no time limit on it, but it doesn't let you submit it repeatedly. Anyway, yeah, so please allow for that. I think there's 50 questions on it, if I remember correctly, but I will have to go double check for the review. Anyway, week after next is the week of the midterm, so please allow time in your schedule to deal with that. All right, let's go look around the content and see what is in store for the week. So the commands are not super exciting, but they are commands that most of us will understand kind of what their purpose is. And then when we dig in on the details of them, then maybe it'll be a little bit easier to understand why we are executing the date command with additional options to control its output. Same for the cal command. And then we'll get our first look at the grep command, which is a super powerful way of searching for pieces of text in files on your system. We'll create a file for ourselves, and then we will use that file to run a series of grep experiments on it. And then finally, we're not really doing any new what commands to use inside of VI, but instead we'll look at some of the options and then how do you save your options as a configuration for the VI text editor. Okay. The spacing here is funny. I don't know why that is. I'm going to fix it. Sorry. Okay. Well, whatever. It's going to space like that. So that just is what it is, I guess. Anyway, just 3 readings. So not a whole lot of new content, but some things to stop and think about. I am going to open up the hands-on experiments page because I know that there is some content provided for me so that I don't have to make it up for myself, and we'll just create a file, put the content in it, and then start some experiments. So the discussion this week is to kind of compel ourselves to practice more with Vim configuration options. So we'll read this. You know what it is? Canvas changed something with these external links. They put this little icon in there that creates this space around it, which I would admit to being irritated by. But anyway, that's because Canvas is always getting better and better all the time. Anyway, so during the discussion, we'll go look at some additional ways that you can configure the VI text editor, Vim, and then make those configuration options sticky using a configuration file. So it's meant to give us an excuse to go play around with the Vim configuration file a little bit more. And hopefully someone will find something that's interesting to experiment with. Okay, and then the reminder. So lab as always, discussion as always. Please start preparing for the midterm. The review will be on the normal live stream time at 8 a.m. on Monday, October 17th. And the midterm itself is available to you, open to you the entire week, and is due by midnight on Sunday, as all assignments are. And then just kind of keeping it out there in front of us. At some point, if we find that we have space in our schedule, you find space in your schedule, hopefully you'll go read about and maybe even begin considering your options for doing the distro project. It's mostly a research project, meaning mostly you go read about a particular Linux distribution online and answer questions about it. But also, it's an opportunity to go do your own installation, which is a confidence builder to do that. And then go inside of it as a user and kind of get a feel for how it's set up for you and how it compares to other distributions we've used. So, pardon me, in this class so far we've used Xubuntu, which is a distribution that has a graphical user interface built in. comes with it out of the box. And then we switched over to using a minimal Debian distribution, which does not come with the graphics, although at the command line, everything is the same. All right, so that's where we're at. I am going to get my hands on experiments. So one of the things that's in here to help some of you who may not have, if you don't have Vim installed yet and Vim is not available, then you may not need all of these instructions, but basically here's some instructions to try to help you get Vim installed on your Debian-based system if you don't already have Vim installed. So anyway, we've done this in class a couple weeks ago, but if you haven't done it yet, here's some instructions to do it. And then what I'm interested in is this file right here. So when I get to that point, I'm going to put this desserts file with Peach Cobbler and whatnot in my Debian system so I can do some experiments with it. All right, so let me switch over to the virtual machine. So just to be sure, I've gotten out of the habit of saying this, but most of you will already know this, but if you don't kind of have it locked into your head, I launched this virtual machine. This is my minimal Debian, and the reason that I'm logging in is because this is where I want to experiment with the commands that we are using this week. It's where I will do the date command, the cal command, the grep command. I will use the Vim editor to create that desserts file. And then I will also be doing a few experiments with Vim configurations. So I need to be inside of my virtual machine to do all those things, which I think most people know, but just to be sure, I've gotten out of the habit of saying it. Okay, and I'm going to clear. So we are using the date command and the cal command, which aren't the most exciting of commands, it's true. But they do have some, they do have options that give us the ability to kind of build up our confidence that we can take a command, read its manual page, and get more behavior out of it. The date command by itself, by the way, is more or less a timestamp, right? So you see the day of the week, the date in the month, the year, and then the hour, minute, second, AM or PM, and what time zone we're in. So by default, the date command gives you all that stuff. So now let's go use the man page to see what else we can get out of it. What we are particularly interested in, by the way, is, I don't think you can see my pointer, you can't, but if you look at the synopsis, you'll see date, option, ... plus format. So I thought this week would be the time where we'll start being a little bit more specific about what these things mean. So in a manual page, when you see something in square brackets, that means that you may or may not provide that information. So this is saying with the date command, you may or may not provide an option. The square brackets means that in this case, the option is optional. I don't have to provide one. I can just type date, press enter, and get some output. So the square brackets is something that's optional. The ... following it means one or more of these things. So I can optionally provide one or more additional options to the date command. And then we can see space and then another square brackets plus format. So again, a format is optional, but it will be the plus sign followed by a format. And then the next line down, which we're not going to do any of those things, I think, today, but you can see that this is a different way of using the date command with optionally specifying universal time and then optionally specifying a formatting string for it's probably month, day, hours, minutes. We'd have to look and see what the CC is, and then the YY is probably years, and then seconds. But anyway, just to start reading and understanding the synopsis is telling me the different ways I can run this command and what is an optional piece of information to supply and what is required. So in this case, the date command has no required extra information other than the command itself, but it does have a variety of options we can run it with. So the options, the square bracket options, include -D, display time described by string, not now. String not now. I'm going to immediately go try that. Let's see what that looks like. My guess is it might be something like this. Date -D tomorrow. Pretty cool. Which, I mean, obviously, it's probably obvious that I've done this experiment before, but I forget some of these, you know, how often are you going to do this? Not very often. Probably we can do yesterday. And let's just see how powerful it is. 1 year ago. Holy moly, that's pretty awesome. Whoever programmed this date command. So there is the -D option, which is optional. But the -D option tells me I need to provide it with a string that describes what I'm looking for. So I did the -D, or I could have done --date equals. I did tomorrow, yesterday, 1 year ago. I could do probably 1 year from now or in the future. It might be worth kind of playing around with what you can get away with, which is kind of cool. Date file like --date. Okay, so the -F option tells me that I could put a file together with a whole bunch of these strings. So I could have a file that said yesterday, today, tomorrow, 1 year ago, 1 year from now, 1 month ago, and I could just have a file with these sort of point in time strings in it, and I could actually say date -F my file.txt with all that stuff in it, and it would actually process all that, I suspect. ISO formats seems too much trouble, but anyway, that's the -I, -R, RFC, 5322 format, whatever that is, I'm not worried about it. Display the last modification time of file. So the date command will actually tell you when a file was last modified. Let's try it. So let's just try file1.txt. So wait, was it -R? I think it was -r. Yeah, so apparently the last time I modified file1.txt was on Monday, the 5th of September at 8:52 in the morning, which sounds about right. So you can use the date command to actually get the last time a file on your system was modified. Also pretty cool. That's the -r. You can use it to set the time, which I'm not going to do anymore. You may or may not be aware of this, but most computers are actually using an internet-based service to get the current time so that everybody's in sync across the internet, more or less. There was a time when we didn't have the ability to get the time from the internet, so we would literally just manually set the time on our system to match our watch or something. But now anymore, you rarely have to do that because a computer is probably running a service that checks on the internet to make sure it's coordinated with a time somewhere out there on the internet. Okay, then we'll see the formats. So format controls. So these are the plus format in square brackets. So we can see a date and then plus, and then one of these formats. So if we said plus %%, we'd get a % sign. I'm not sure how useful that is. We can get %A, which is the abbreviated week. So a full weekday is a %big A, and a full month is a %big B. So let's try those just to see how that works. So I do date plus %big A, %big B. So now what if I did %, can you do AB? No. So it must be %A, %B. Do I have to put a plus in front of it? Maybe I have to... Oh, wait. Aha. Yeah, but if I put a space in there... What if I put quotes around it? Okay, there we go. Now, sometimes I fish around like this to just show you that this is a very simple way to figure out how a command works, is just kind of try all the different arrangements and see what gets an output. So there we go. I wonder if I can put a comma. Yeah, so with the date command and this plus for formatting and then the quotes, we can string together a whole bunch of stuff and get a completely custom output. Let's see what else there is down here. Percent big C is the century, like the big Y, except for omit the last 2 digits. So like 21st century. Percent D is the date. And notice that the capital D says it will format it as month, day, year with slashes in between. Let's try that one. Yeah, nice. So for my money, the date command is actually kind of, it's a good one to dig in on the options like this, because I most of the time I understand what I'm looking at. I understand what the point of it is. So I don't have to worry about what does this even mean. It's the date and the various components of what the date and the current time are, and how we can customize the command's output to show us not only what information about the date and time we want, but specifically how we want it to look. So we have things like the full date. I'm going to try the %F as well. Okay, so kind of getting some formatting setups for free. Big G is an ISO week number, probably not interesting to me. You see the capital H is the 24-hour clock hour, the capital I is the 12. Where's the AM PM stuff? We can get padded hour. Okay, there's the month by number. We can get a new line in there. Interesting. Nanoseconds. Like big P, but like little p. Okay. Oh, locale is equivalent of AM or PM. Oh, we can do it in lowercase. Okay. 24-hour, minute, second, since a second, a tab. Anyway, that's very, very powerful. Now, why would they have done all of these different options? Well, it can make it easy to like prepare a text document that has a time and date stamp on it that is formatted precisely to your needs. In fact, I'll add that kind of thing. I like the %T. Anyway, I'll add one of these date and time stamps to my my desserts file, just to kind of show off why would we even want all these options. I mean, probably a programmer kind of got obsessive about just all the different things that could be done and just did it. Like used every letter of the alphabet basically for a different piece of information. So there's a lot more going on than you might think. And there's even sort of extra formatting symbols down below where it says by default the date command pads numeric fields with zeros, but we can change to pad with other stuff. So anyway, and then there's some examples, which are more complex ones. And then you can see the date string section, which I was already toying around with, that you can say things like next Thursday, last Wednesday, that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. Probably more than you ever wanted to know about the date command, but it's quite cool. There's a lot of goodies in it. Okay, so also the cal command, another sort of time-related command, which I don't have. Well, this is an opportunity to go fix that problem. That's a bummer. Why don't we have the cal command? Let me see where the cal command lives. Okay, it is a package. Let's install it. So, heads up, I'm about to install the cal command. And I'm going to do it the way that the hands-on experiment does it. So I'm going to exit as my JBoydT user. All right, so now I'm back in the login. I'm going to log in as the root user. Who am I? I am the root user, and the reason why I logged out from my normal user and logged back in as root is because I need to install the cal command on my system. So I'm going to apt install cal and hope that that just works. I'm going to pause on this for a moment. There is no package cal, so that is a pain in my rear. So I'm going to have to go figure out real quick, where does the cal command live? I have to scratch all my... Why is cal not in here? It's crazy. There's a colorized calendar utility. Let's search. So let's go ahead and just do this. So I'm going to search for calendar. Okay. But, okay. So this is a good learning opportunity. So hopefully you noticed that it just went streaking past me on the screen, and I need to stop and actually read the thing. So I have 3 options here, roughly. So how do I stop the screen from just flashing by? The easiest way to do that, when I realize that there's more output than fits on my screen, is to pipe this into a screen reader like less. So if I do apt search calendar piped to less, it will stop a screen at a time, and I can inspect the screen. Okay, so now let's see if we can find the calendar. Well, there's one down toward the bottom of the screen. I'm going to put it at the top of the screen that is called calendar. So I'm going to install that one. So it's the full word calendar is the name of the package. There's also a package called ccal, which is a colorized calendar. And then I'm just going to scroll through here. All this evolution stuff is probably GUI. Gcal. I'm not going to worry. Let's try calendar and see how far that gets us. So apt install calendar. Yes. All right, so let's see if that got us a cal command. It did not. Did it get us a calendar command? Yeah, that's not useful. So none of that helps at all. So let's just keep going and see if we can figure out. I can see the calendar command. I'm looking around on Debian's website because it appears that there ought to be a cal command, but I guess not. Just ccal. All right, so we'll try ccal. Apt install ccal. Okay. Does that do cal? No. Ccal? I can live with it. It's colorized. So we'll have to adapt the lab questions a little bit. I think otherwise it's going to be the same. But But I'll go in there and edit those questions to say or CCal as appropriate. So that was a lot. Hopefully you were able to follow what I did. So I had to log out from my normal user. I had to log in as root, which is what I am now. And then I searched for a calendar package. I installed one called Calendar, but that did not give me this picture of a calendar, which is what I wanted. So then I found the CCal. So there it is at the top of the screen. I'll leave it for a few moments. I'm root. I installed CCal. And now I have CCal, which is a colorized calendar, because I couldn't find the old cal command in this Debian distribution. So we just adapt. Okay, so let's exit. Let's not be root for any longer than we need to be. I'll log in as my normal user again. And I should have CCal here. Okay, all's good. So let's look at the man pages for CCal and see what its options look like. So apparently this has replaced the old not colorized calendar utility. So here we can see the documentation is written slightly differently, but yeah, in the synopsis section, CCal, options in square brackets, which means that, and it says options, which probably means that we can provide it with one or more. And then another section, which is in square brackets, that has another square brackets inside of this, which is a num month, followed by a year. So we can provide options to CCal. We can also optionally provide a year, which optionally we can say a specific month of that year. And we can specify, if you look at the second line, we can specify the month by its number or the month by a word, the name of it as a word. So let's just try those basic CCal on a year kind of thing and see what happens. So CCal 2021. So it gives me a calendar for the entire year of 2021. Should be able to do 2023. Okay, that's fine. We should be able to say January by number of 2023. So there's January of 2023. We should be able to say January of 2023. And let's see if we can spell it all the way out. Is that allowed? Yes. So that's the basic. Optionally, I can specify a year, and optionally on top of that, I can specify a specific month in that year. So that's kind of cool. Let's see what else. Let's see what the options look like. Okay, so available options are --3, which will be a 3 month, the last month, the current month, the next month. So we'll try the --3. Apparently we could do something with appointments in here, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. We could change the color configuration. We're not going to worry about that. Read appointments from file name. Default appointment data file name depends on operating system. You may use -D up to 8 times in a command line to specify multiple data file. So we can actually put appointments in a file. Maybe I'll try that if I see without having to spend too much time on it, what that looks like. North American format, where the first weekday is a Sunday, or the European format. So notice the options for the CCal are all -- style options. Future. Current month is displayed, then show only future appointments. Okay. Julian. Monday is the first day of the week. Inhibit the use of colors. Show only today's appointments. Allow the use of colors. display a calendar for the current year, which can be specified with --y a year, or just the number for the year. So this one isn't nearly as awesome as the date command, but we'll try the --3. And then it has some examples. Display the current month and future appointments defined in my dates. Is it going to tell us how to do a date file? It will. We might try this. Special date. CCal will search for a date file called cal.dat in the directory it was executed from. If not found, it will search in the user's home directory for a file called .cal.dat, a hidden file. I'm going to do one. If still not found, okay, so we're going to do .cal.dat in our home directory. And then the special date descriptions specified in the date file are single lines formatted as follows. A 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and what's the NW? The weekday of month code. Year, month, day. 00 if the NW field is... Okay, so we're going to use the day, the DD, and then it says put 00 for the NW thing if we use the DD thing. All right, so that's a little bit confusing. And then a description, but we're going to try one. And let's just see what happens. Oops. So I'm going to make sure that I am in my home directory, because it told me, the man page told me, if you put appointments in a specific file here, those appointments, you can display them using the CCal command. So I'm going to try that for a few moments. So I'm going to use vi .cal.dat. Hopefully you remember that a file that starts with the dot is a hidden file, which just means that it won't appear in a normal listing. So that's a good thing, because I don't imagine I'm going to be editing this constantly, and I don't want it to appear in normal listings. So I'm going to use vim space .cal.dat in my home directory and see what happens. So let's see, I had the year, the month by the number, and this is the 10th month. The date, tomorrow will be the 04. And then it told me that last field should be 00 if the field in front of it has a number in it. So, and then I'll say go shopping. All right, so there's an appointment in the CCal format. Let's try that. Okay, right and quit. So if I do a listing here, it doesn't appear. If I do an all listing, there is .cal.dat. Now let's see what happens if I do CCal. Ooh, that's pretty neat. So it did find that appointment, and it said on the 4th, go shopping. Hey, that's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, that's pretty neat. I'm going to do one more. So I am going to do one for next month and see what happens. So I'll do one in November on the 1st. That just is blanked out, and I will say, get ready for Thanksgiving. I don't know. I'll go ahead and press enter and leave a blank line at the bottom. This is neat. I didn't know that. I'm glad we got to go down this road. Okay. So there's my second appointment for the year 2022. The month is the 11th month, November, the first day of November. And then that 4th field is just, I'm going to always have it be zeros. And then a description of what happens on November 1st. And the reason I did that is because I want to see what happens if I have an appointment next month. Neat. So it lists that is super cool. I'm very happy to have found CCal. So I'm going to go into the lab and hopefully not destroy any of the questions. Basically the options I think that we're interested in are the same, but I will put some allowances in for CCal in the lab. I didn't try this command, by the way, --3. Okay, so 3 months, the one before this month, the current month. I just think that's so cool. What if I do no color? What if I do no color on my appointments? Anyway, I'm very happy with CCal, to be honest. I think it's pretty cool. I might start using it. Yeah, so that was way cooler than I thought it could be. So hopefully I didn't lose anybody in all of that. Of course, you have the video later if you need to go back and reverse. But I will touch up this week's materials, including the video description. We'll have this note that we had to install CCal, not Cal. But it looks like its operations are pretty similar to the original Cal, but I will also update the lab questions to make sure that it can work for everybody. Okay. So yeah, that's that. That's those two commands. And I knew we're going to dig on them pretty hard. So I can start right now by saying, so note we had to install CCal to get that to work. Okay, but I'm pretty excited because I thought it was a very, very cool command. I like the way it works. And I like that you can have an appointments file and it just appears with your calendar, which is really, really cool. Yeah. Okay, so now switching over to creating some content so that we can do some grep experiments. So you can't see it, but I have my hands-on experiments file. Hopefully I'm not moving things around where you can't see them anymore. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to, let's see, still in my home. If I do a listing, so I have been doing folders each week, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that going. So if Cal just worked for you on your particular version of Debian, that's fine. You can go with Cal. But if you needed CCal, then hopefully you can track me in there and install that thing. All right, so yeah, week 7. So let's change directories into week 7, and then I'm going to use vim to create the desserts.txt file, which I need to have where I can see it. Okay. So there's one thing that you'll notice if you were, I'll switch back. Let me switch back. Sorry, I hope I don't make anybody see. So I have the hands-on experiments up, and you'll notice that I have drawn an oval around line numbers. So here we see line numbers and also a status line at the bottom. But let's worry about the line numbers first. So how do we get line numbers to show in VI? So the way you do that is from command mode with VI open. So I did, or vim, I did vim space desserts.txt. I'm going to do colon set space number. Unfortunately, it doesn't say set line number or set lines or whatever, just colon set space number. I need to switch the view so you can see that. So if you look at the bottom of my screen, colon set space number, and if I do that, I get a line number. And once I have a line number, then it's going to look like the hands-on experiments. So now I'm going to start typing stuff. So peach cobbler. And notice the line numbers just automatically appear. The line numbers are not themselves part of the file, which we'll prove here in a second. But let me type all this stuff in. Upside down, cake, cherry crisp, lemon curd, cherry cob. And notice I have a capital B in there. That's on purpose. So where you see funny spellings in the hands-on experiments, do that the same way because that's intentional. Coconut lime, cheesecake, cake, Apple crisp with a little c. Peach crisp with a big C. Peach, P-I-E. Funny spelling. Blueberry cobbler. But these spellings are all intentional because they will assist us in our grep experiments coming up here in just a moment. So let me keep going. A blueberry cobbler is on line 10, line 11. Lemon, butter, tarts, grilled peaches, apple, and pear pie. All caps, apple, fritters, bananas, Foster, baked apples, all little letters, peach crisp, all capital letters, blackberry pie, cherry ice cream, blueberry pie, and then there was one more blank line at the bottom, escape, and then I'm going to colon WQ. So I've created the desserts file. Now I'm going to open it again just to show you something. So if I open it again, so I said that the line numbers are not part of the file itself. And if I open the file again, I'll see that the line numbers went away. Now we're going to deal with that in just a moment. But if we find ourselves in VI and we want line numbers and they're not showing, then the way to get them is from command mode, escape, 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 colon. Hopefully you're still looking at what I'm looking at. Yeah. Colon, set, space, number, and we get the line numbers back. So I wanted you to know that the line numbers do not become a part of the file. They are just part of what the Vim editor is showing you as an aid to your editing work. The status line, I think we can just say escape, 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 colon, set status, maybe? Not set status. Let me go figure out what the status line is real quick. Oh, status line. Maybe it's just called status line. Let's try it. Set status line. No. I don't want to customize it, so escape, escape, escape to get that option. Let me go cheat and figure out what that is real quick. Week 7, right? Set ruler, number, show mode, command. Let's just try a couple and see what they do. You'll do this in discussion. So we're going to do a colon set ruler. Okay, that just shows the stuff that I think we were already seeing at the bottom. What about set show mode? Yeah, I think that was already in there. What about set command? Yeah, that's not a thing. How did I get that status line in there? Well, I'm not going to worry about it. You'll find that out for discussion. So that's probably better that I don't take it away from you. Okay, so anyway, the point for the moment is how do you get the line numbers to show in VI? From command mode, colon, set, space, number, press enter, and the line numbers show up. When you exit the file and come back in, they're gone, but you can insert them, not really insert them, but you can show them again with colon, set, space, number. Okay, so we'll come back to that in just a moment. Grep. So I'm going to close this file. I'm going to inspect it quickly just to see the kinds of words that are in here, because the point of the grep command, which is what we're going to experiment with next, is to search through a file for target strings and show me where those target strings exist. So I'm just looking in here for experiment purposes to see what kinds of target strings would be useful in an experiment. So the word peach appears a few times. The word crisp appears several times. The word pie appears several times. Apple several times. So those words that appear, well, even once is fine, but words that appear multiple times in this file are good candidates for this experiment. So :Q, because I didn't make any changes. So let's look at the grep command. So print lines that match patterns. So you'll see this in the language of this searching is patterns. But a pattern is simply, just think of it as like a find operation. So I'm looking for a particular string of characters or a pattern in grep language. If we look at the first line of the synopsis, you'll notice that again, it's written slightly differently, but we have a sense of what it means. So option ... means optionally, one or more options. You'll notice that patterns is not in square brackets, which means that you must supply a pattern. That's required. And then one or more files is optional. Now we're going to always use a file as our input. But notice that in this case, in the synopsis, a pattern is always required. So grep searches for patterns in files. Patterns is one or more patterns separated by new line characters. Patterns is a lot scarier than what it is when you do it, at least for now. Let's see if there are any options of interest. We're not worried about pattern syntax. Matching controls, all right. Ignore case, that could be handy. That's one where if we have funny spellings of upper and lowercase stuff, that could be helpful. So we'll worry about that. We'll keep that one in mind. The -V to invert the match means to print the lines where there is in fact no match, as opposed to the default, which is print lines that have a match. We'll try the -V also. I don't see any more in that section. General output controls. So we can use the -C option to tell us how many matches there were, as opposed to show me the lines with the matches. I don't care about M, O. I like the -N option I use a lot. So prefix each line of the output with the line number from the input file. So we have -I, -V, -N to try out. All right, so I'll remind you that this is desserts, and I will use cat to print it out, just to remind us what is inside of it. And then we'll do some grep experiments on it. So grep, and then a pattern would be, well, find the word apple. That's the pattern. I want to look for APPLE, that pattern, if you will, in the desserts file. And what grep is supposed to do is it's supposed to print the entire line everywhere where it finds apple, APPLE. So let's see what it does. So pineapple, upside down cake. So notice that grep doesn't care, at least without help, if APPLE has other stuff around it. It's just going to find an exact match to that pattern and print out the line that it was on. So pineapple has the pattern APPLE on it. And baked apples also has the pattern APPLE on it. Let's try a fancier one. Let's be case insensitive in case the word apple is capitalized in funny ways anywhere in the desserts file. Do we get any more results off of that? Oops. I forgot the pattern. So be case insensitive. Look for the pattern apple in any configuration of upper and lowercase characters. That's what the -I does in the file desserts.txt. So now I find it on all of these lines. Same on pineapple. So now the apple crisp line, because it has a capital A, but since I have the -I option in there, it's case insensitive, so that line appears. Apple and pear pie. Apple fritters appears. So now I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines that have that pattern if it's being looked for in a case insensitive fashion. 5 lines. What if I add the -C option in here to say I just want to see a count of the number of lines where it appears. 5. So that matches. If that's useful for me to know how many times it appears as opposed to seeing precisely where it appears, then I could do that. Let's clear. So let's try another one. So -n apple desserts.txt. And now what it's telling me is pineapple upside down cake is line 2 of the file, and baked apples is line 16 of the file. If I make that case insensitive, then I get several more lines of the file. I can also invert this. I'll take the line numbers off this time. So the -V option, what that tells me is it will show me all the lines where that word apple, that pattern apple, does not appear. At least that's what it's supposed to do. And we're going to check it to make sure that these are the lines where apple is in fact not appearing. There's a blank one at the bottom, by the way. That's because at the bottom of the file there's an empty line. So grep actually showed that line that was empty. So the -V is show me all the lines where apple in any case insensitive configuration does not appear. So grep is super, super, super cool. You can, by the way, you can run it on multiple files, but we don't need that particular feature just yet. So there's grep. We're just looking for some simple experiments on it to get comfortable with it, and then we will get more power out of it later in the semester when we talk about something called the regular expression. There's grep. Okay, so the last problem to solve for now is when I open the desserts file, the line numbers aren't there, and I personally like there to always be line numbers. I just find it helpful to see line numbers when I'm editing. So how do I get the line numbers to always, always, always appear? And that's where configuration files come into play. So I am in my week 7 folder. I'm going to go back to my home folder, which is one back from week 7. And you can find this in the Vim manual page, but I'm just going to talk about it. So we just did .cal.dat, and that worked out perfectly for us because .cal.dat is using the same idea that we're about to use for Vim. So that .cal.dat file, when we put appointments in it, the ccal command knew to automatically go there and extract those appointments and display them on the screen. So we have a file that we can ask Vim to go automatically extract configuration options for us. That is very similar. So we're actually going to use Vim to create it. Make sure you're in your home folder because it has to be here just like cal.dat does. So we're going to vim space .vimrc. And you'll see this little RC in a few other places, like .bashrc as an example. They're configuration files. So the dot in front of it simply means don't show this file in a normal listing because we don't expect to be editing it constantly, so we don't want to look at it every time we do a listing. But otherwise, it's just a file with configuration settings in it. Make sure it's in your home directory. It will not work as expected. So I'm going to actually use Vim to edit its own configuration. All right, so here we are. For me, the file didn't exist already, so it's a brand new empty file. And I'm going to set my number configuration in here. Now you'll notice that I didn't use a colon, and you don't. You only use a colon when you're actually setting the configuration while running VI. But what I want to do here is save a configuration that is automatically applied to VI when I run it. So set number, that's it. You will find others this week like set ruler, and you will just add additional options here. Set show mode, which I think was already a set one. And so during discussion this week, we'll all go out and do some research on the different kind of startup options you can save in your .vimrc file. So I'm going to colon W here, just so you have a chance to see on the screen that I just saved .vimrc. It is in my home directory. And now I'm going to do a colon Q. I'm going to clear. I'm going to remind you I'm in my home directory. I'm going to do an all listing so that, again, you can see there's the .vimrc file. There's also a .viminfo file, but I'm not going to worry myself about that one just now. So vimrc in my home directory is the crucial thing. So let's go back into week 7. And let's open Vim, and what we're hoping to happen is that all those configuration options, like the line numbers, are now applied every time I run Vim. I don't have to manually do it anymore, because every time I start Vim, it's going to go read the configuration options in my .vimrc file and load those up. So now I always have line numbers. I think you can turn them off, by the way, with colon set no number, maybe. Yeah, you can turn them off. Set no number. But if I reopen it, then I get the line numbers back. So the discussion this week is kind of going out there and finding additional options and trying them out in your vimrc file and see which ones are cool. Okay, so I have some adjustments to make to some of our documentation this week to allow for the CSCI command. I just kind of always cross my fingers that everyone's watching the lecture so that they will see all that happen. Or if not, at least they get into Piazza so we can share with them that we installed a special form of cal, which it turns out was very awesome. So I liked it. I hope that at least some of you get it installed and think it's fun to work with. Anyway, with that, I think I can end the day this week and then go do some quick updates to allow for CSCI in our lab this week. So thanks a lot for being here. I very much appreciate it. I hope you have a good week, and let me know if you have any issues with the labs, Canvas inbox, Piazza, office hours. Otherwise, I will see you on Monday morning next week. So take care, everybody.